My mother was shaking, not from the cold, but from nerves. She grabbed my arm in the hallway of my Aunt Brenda's house, her fingers digging into the worn fabric of my hoodie, and whispered, "Please, Johnny, just for tonight, don't be you." That hurt. It stung more than the icy wind outside. It hurt more than the years of solitude building an empire nobody knew about. My own mother was ashamed of me, and the reason for her shame was sitting inside, drinking my uncle's best wine and wearing a suit that screamed new money so loud it practically shattered the windows. "I'll be fine, Mom," I said, my voice rough. I pulled my hood down, revealing messy hair I hadn't cut in 6 weeks. "I promise, I'll just sit there and eat." "His name is Dominic," she said, fixing my collar with trembling hands. He's very successful, Johnny. He's a regional VP. He has high standards. I just want him to like us." Us, as if we were a package deal of disappointment. "If he likes you, that's enough," I lied. She looked at me with those big, hopeful eyes that had cried too many tears over men who didn't deserve a second of her time, and sighed. "Just try not to talk about your little computer games, okay? Tell him you're looking for work. Tell him you're taking a course. Anything but the truth." The truth. The truth was that at 29 years old, I wasn't playing computer games. I was the majority shareholder and shadow CEO of Omnicorp, the conglomerate that had just acquired the logistics firm Dominic worked for. The truth was that I had made $3 million that morning while brushing my teeth. The truth was that I could buy this entire neighborhood, bulldoze it, and turn it into a parking lot without denting my checking account. But to my family, to my Aunt Brenda, my Uncle Mike, and my cousin Steve, I was Johnny the dropout, Johnny the loser, Johnny, the guy who stared at screens all day and probably sold fake sneakers on eBay to pay for his internet bill. "Ready?" Mom asked, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ready," I said. I opened the door and the wall of noise hit me. The smell of Aunt Brenda's overcooked pot roast mixed with cheap cologne, laughter, loud, booming, fake laughter. And there he was, Dominic. He was standing by the fireplace, holding a glass of red wine by the bowl, not the stem strike one, and holding court like a king visiting the peasants. He was in his late 40s, tanned to the point of orange, with teeth so white they looked radioactive. He wore a navy suit with pinstripes that were just a little too wide, and a watch that was trying desperately to be a Rolex Daytona. "And I told the board," Dominic was bellowing, spraying a little spit. "I told them, 'Gentlemen, you don't pay me to be nice, you pay me to be a shark.' And bam, sales up 40% in Q3, just like that." My Uncle Mike, a man who had worked at the same hardware store for 30 years, nodded in awe. 40%? Incredible. "That's incredible, Dom." "It's all about mindset, Mike," Dominic said, winking. "Alpha mindset. You eat or you get eaten." Then he saw us. His eyes scanned my mother, lighting up with a possessive gleam that made my stomach turn. Then his gaze slid to me. The gleam vanished, replaced by a look of pure, unfiltered disgust. It was the way you look at a stain on a restaurant carpet. "And this must be the sun," Dominic said. He didn't move to shake my hand. He just swirled his wine. "This is Johnny," my mother said, stepping forward quickly, acting like a human shield. "Johnny, this is Dominic. He works for that big logistics company I told you about." "Johnny," Dominic repeated, tasting the name like it was sour milk. "Elena tells me you're between opportunities." The room went silent. Cousin Steve, who was sitting on the sofa texting, looked up with a smirk. Steve was an assistant manager at a rental car agency and thought he was the next Elon Musk because he owned 0.01 Bitcoin. "I'm freelancing," I said calmly, shoving my hands into my jeans pockets. "Freelancing?" Dominic chuckled. It was a wet, condescending sound. "That's a polite word for unemployed, isn't it? Hey, no shame in it, kid. The economy is tough for people with limited skill sets." "Dominic is very high up in the company," Aunt Brenda chimed in, rushing to fill the awkward air. "He oversees the entire Midwest division." "Please, Brenda, no need to brag." Dominic waved a hand, creating a cloud of musk scent. "But yes, it's a heavy burden. Heavy lies the crown, right? I have 200 people under me. If I snap my fingers, they jump. It's stress, pure stress. But the rewards..." He patted the breast pocket of his jacket. The rewards are sweet. I watched him. I analyzed him. It was a habit from the business world. You look for the weak points, the cracks in the armor. Dominic was all cracks. The suit was off the rack, expensive maybe, but ill-fitting around the shoulders. The shoes were polished, but the heels were worn down unevenly. And the eyes. They were darting around the room, seeking validation, hungry for applause. This wasn't a confident man. This was a man terrified of being exposed. "Dinner is served," Aunt Brenda announced. We moved to the dining table. Dominic took the head of the table, of course. Uncle Mike didn't even protest. He just sat to the side, emasculated in his own home. I sat at the far end, opposite Dominic, the exile seat. The dinner started with the usual interrogation. "So, Johnny," Dominic said, stabbing a potato with aggression, "Elena tells me you're 29, approaching the big 30, scary age. By 30, I had my first million. Well, in assets. What do you have, besides a hooded sweatshirt?" Steve snickered into his water glass. "He has a level 80 wizard in World of Warcraft, Dom. That's gotta count for something." The table erupted in laughter. Even my mother offered a weak, nervous chuckle, desperate to keep the peace. "I have enough," I said, keeping my voice even. "Enough? Enough for what? A bus ticket?" Dominic leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Look, I'm a straight shooter. I tell it like it is. You're drifting, kid. You're dead weight. And frankly, it's embarrassing for your mother. She's a classy woman. She deserves better than a son who looks like he just woke up in a dumpster." "Dominic, please," Mom whispered, touching his arm. "He's trying." Is he? Is he really Elena?" Dominic pulled his arm away from her. "Because from where I'm sitting, he looks like a leech. I bet he asks you for money, doesn't he? $20 here, $50 there." My mother looked down at her plate. She didn't say no. Because I did take money from her sometimes, not because I needed it, but because she insisted, and refusing it made her feel useless. I put every single dollar she gave me into a high-yield account in her name, which now had over $250,000 in it, waiting for her birthday. "Silence says it all," Dominic smirked, victorious. "Pathetic. You know, Johnny, my company is hiring. We need janitors for the warehouse in Gary, night shift. It's dirty work, scrubbing floors, but it pays minimum wage. Maybe I can pull a string, get you an interview, if you promise to shower first." Uncle Mike laughed so hard he choked on a carrot. "A janitor! Imagine Johnny with a mop. He'd probably try to program it." Steve was practically crying with laughter. "Oh man, Dom, you're killing him. Stop, he's already dead." I sat there, perfectly still. I cut a piece of roast beef, chewed it slowly, and swallowed. "I appreciate the offer, Dominic," I said, "but I think I'll pass. I'm busy with a project." "A project?" Dominic threw his hands up. "He's busy with a project. Listen to this guy. What is it? Designing a new chair for your basement?" "Actually," I said, wiping my mouth with a napkin, "I'm looking into corporate restructuring, specifically efficiency audits in logistics subsidiaries." Dominic froze. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. For a split second, the mask slipped, and I saw a flash of pure panic. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by anger. "You think you're smart?" Dominic sneered, his face turning a shade of red that matched the wine. "You using big words you heard on CNN? Restructuring? You don't know the first thing about corporate America, boy. I eat guys like you for breakfast. I am the VP of the Midwest. I drive a Porsche. I wear Italian silk. You are nothing." He pointed his fork at me. "A weapon. You are a disappointment to your bloodline," he spat. "And if you're going to be around your mother, you better show some respect to the man who is actually taking care of her." That was it. The line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. He wasn't just insulting me anymore. He was claiming ownership of my mother. He was using her as a prop to boost his fragile ego. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "Who are you texting?" Dominic barked. "Your imaginary girlfriend? Put the phone away when a man is talking to you." "Just checking something," I said softly. I unlocked the screen. I didn't open a game. I didn't open Instagram. I opened the Sentinel app, the proprietary executive dashboard for Omnicorp. I navigated to the directory. Search. Dominic Russo. Result. Regional Director, Level 4. Parent company, Apex Logistics, recently acquired by Omnicorp. Status, Active, flags, 3 red flags, internal audit. I tapped on the red flags. The file downloaded instantly. I scrolled through the summary. Expense account irregularities, ghost vendors. A sexual harassment complaint settled out of court 3 months ago, using company funds disguised as consulting fees. And the kicker, he wasn't a VP. He was a regional director, a mid-level manager with delusions of grandeur. I looked up. Dominic was still ranting to Aunt Brenda about how he was going to buy a boat next summer. "Dominic," I said. My voice changed. It wasn't the voice of Johnny the nephew. It was the voice of Mr. JV, the man who made grown CEOs cry in boardrooms. Something in my tone made the table go quiet. Even Steve stopped chewing. "What?" Dominic snapped. "You mentioned a Porsche," I said. "Is that the lease you expense to the company under transportation logistics?" Dominic blinked. "Excuse me?" "And the Italian silk," I continued, glancing at my phone. "Is that the $5,000 in uniform expenses you claimed in August from a tailor in Chicago called Luigi's Threads?" The color drained from Dominic's face so fast it looked like a magic trick. He went from tomato red to sheet white in 3 seconds. How do you know that?" he whispered. "I read a lot," I said. "And I have friends who are good with computers. Remember? The wizard level 80? I looked at Steve. He wasn't smiling anymore. "You hacked me?" Dominic stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You little felon, I'll have you arrested. I'll have you thrown in jail. Who do you think you are?" "Sit down, Dominic," I said. I didn't shout. I didn't raise my voice. I just gave a command, and he didn't sit. He lunged. "You think you can intimidate me?" He leaned over the table, his wine splashing onto the white tablecloth. "You're a nobody. I am a director at Apex Logistics." "Apex Logistics," I repeated, "which was acquired 6 weeks ago by Omnicorp, correct?" "So what?" he spat. "Omnicorp is a giant. They don't know who you are. They don't care about a loser in a hoodie." "True," I said. "They usually don't, but they care very much about embezzlement. Specifically, the $42,000 you funneled into a shell company called Russo Consulting over the last 8 months. My mother gasped. "Dominic, is that true?" "He's lying," Dominic screamed, veins bulging in his neck. "He's making it up. He's crazy, Elena. Your son is a psycho." "Am I?" I tapped the screen and turned the phone around. I slid it across the table. It stopped right in front of him. The screen showed a PDF of a bank transfer from Apex Logistics to Russo Consulting, signed by Dominic Russo. Dominic looked at the phone. He looked at me. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. That is privileged information," he stammered. You can't have that." "I can have it," I said, standing up slowly, "because I own it." "You own the phone?" Uncle Mike asked, confused. "No, Uncle Mike," I said, keeping my eyes locked on Dominic. "I own Apex Logistics. I own Omnicorp." The silence that followed was heavy. It was the kind of silence that hurts your ears. "You... what?" Steve laughed nervously. "Okay, joke's over. Good one, Johnny. You got us." "Steve, shut up," I said. I didn't look at him. I walked around the table. Dominic shrank back, clutching his napkin. "My name isn't on the website," I said, my voice low and cold. "I value my privacy, but my holding company, Archangel Ventures, owns 51% of Omnicorp stock. You can check the SEC filings if you know how to read them, which, judging by your expense reports, you don't." I stopped right behind my mother. I put a hand on her shoulder. She was trembling again, but this time, she was looking at me with wide, shocked eyes. "You humiliated my mother?" I said to Dominic. "You made her feel small. You made her feel like she had to beg for your approval. You made my family laugh at me." I was joking," Dominic wheezed. Sweat was beading on his forehead. "It was just banter. Locker room talk, Johnny. Mr. Vargas. Sir. Mr. Vargas." I tested the name. "I like that better than Leech." I pulled my phone back from the table. "I'm sending a message to HR right now. You're not fired, Dominic." He let out a breath, a ragged sound of hope. Thank you, sir. I promise I'll pay it back. You're not fired," I repeated. "You're under investigation, which means your accounts are frozen. Your company car is being reported stolen as of right now. And our legal team is going to spend the next 6 months dissecting every single email you've ever sent. If you bought a stick of gum with company money, they will find it. Dominic's knees gave out. He collapsed back into his chair. But I'm generous, I said. I'm not going to ruin you instantly. I'm going to give you a week. A week? He croaked. 1 week to resign, I said. 1 week to liquidate your assets and pay back every cent you stole. If you do that, maybe, just maybe, I won't press criminal charges. I'll just let you fade away into obscurity. You can go be a janitor. I hear the night shift in Gary is hiring. Dominic looked at my mother. Elena, help me. My mother stood up. She looked at the man in the cheap, expensive suit. She looked at the sweat running down his fake tan. She looked at the fear in his eyes, the fear of a bully who finally met the principal. Then she looked at me, her son, the dropout in the hoodie. Get out, she said. Elena, get out, she screamed, pointing at the door. Get out of my sister's house. Don't you ever come near me or my son again. Dominic scrambled up. He didn't grab his coat. He didn't say goodbye. He ran. He practically tripped over the rug in his haste to get to the door. We heard the front door slam, then the roar of an engine peeling out of the driveway. The room was silent again. Uncle Mike was staring at his peas. Aunt Brenda was fanning herself with a napkin. Steve was looking at me like I was an alien who had just landed. So, Steve said, his voice cracking. Archangel Ventures? Really? I sat back down. I picked up my fork. Eat your roast, Steve, I said. It's getting cold. Johnny, my mother whispered. She reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was tight. Is it true? All of it? Yeah, Mom, I said. It's true. But why didn't you tell us? Aunt Brenda asked, her voice shrill. We didn't know. Because I wanted to know who you were when you thought I was nothing, I said. I looked around the table, meeting every pair of eyes. And now I know. They looked down. Shame is a powerful thing. It filled the room thicker than the pot roast gravy. But don't worry, I said, taking a sip of water. I'm not going to cut you off. You're family. Family is important. But things are going to change. No more making fun of Mom. No more condescending jokes. And next time we have dinner, we're doing it at my place. Your place? Uncle Mike asked weakly. The apartment? I smiled. It was a genuine smile this time. No, Uncle Mike. The estate. It's about 40 minutes north. You'll like it. It has a heated pool and a wine cellar with bottles that don't taste like vinegar. Uncle Mike flushed purple. I turned to my mother. She was crying, but she was smiling through the tears. I'm sorry, Johnny, she sobbed. I'm so sorry I didn't defend you better. It's okay, Mom, I said gently. You don't need to defend me. I can defend myself, and I can defend you. I took a bite of the roast beef. It was dry, overcooked, tough as leather. Aunt Brenda, I said. Yes, Johnny, yes, Alejandro, she squeaked. Pass the salt. She passed it so fast she almost knocked over a candle. The rest of the dinner was quiet, respectful. Nobody made jokes. Nobody checked their phone. They ate and they watched me, waiting for another lightning bolt to strike. When we left, I walked my mother to her car, a 10-year-old sedan that rattled when it started. I'm buying you a new car tomorrow, I said. Not a Porsche, maybe a Lexus, something safe. You don't have to, she said. I know, that's why I'm doing it. I hugged her tight. Go home, Mom. Sleep well. Dominic won't bother you again. I promise. She drove off. I stood there in the cold night air, pulling my hood up. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my assistant. Target. Russo, Dominic. Status. Assets frozen. Resignation letter drafted for his signature. Should we proceed with the press release regarding the embezzlement? I looked at the text. I thought about the fear in Dominic's eyes. I thought about the week of waiting I had promised him, a week of sweating, a week of knowing his life was over. I typed back, hold the press release, let him sweat for the full 7 days, and send a fruit basket to my Aunt Brenda. She needs it. I put the phone away and walked to my car, parked 3 blocks away so nobody would see it. A matte black Aston Martin. I got in, the engine purring like a jungle cat. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But, honestly, it tastes pretty good with a side of overcooked pot roast. As I drove away, leaving the suburbs behind for the city lights where I belonged, I knew one thing for sure. The next family reunion was going to be very, very interesting. And Dominic was going to learn the hard way that you never, ever judge a book by its hoodie, especially when that book owns the library. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button and subscribe for